Discover the incredible transformation. Ginger's heartwarming journey to becoming a loving big bee. On a crisp autumn morning, the air was alive with the sound of leaves crunching beneath worn sneakers. Ginger, a 32-year-old single mother from Maplewood, Ohio, stood in front of her children Mia and Ethan, feeding them breakfast with one hand while scrolling through endless bills with the other. The world around her, painted in golden hues, felt so far removed from her struggles. Everyone in her neighborhood knew her name but not the weight she carried. The furtive glances from other parents as they dropped off their kids at school pierced her heart. Their judgment whispered that her life was less than an unending cycle of toil, judgment, and challenges that seemed insurmountable. But Ginger was fierce. She was a warrior, battling economic pressures to create a home full of love. Her determination burned brightly, even on the darkest days when she juggled 2 jobs, pouring her heart into every cent earned. Yet behind those smiles she plastered on for her children lay a raw ache and inexplicable yearning for something more, something better. Then came the change. On a friend's suggestion, she signed up to foster dogs at the local shelter. Why not bring some joy into their lives while finding a way to generate small income? It was there that she met Ruth, a weather-beaten former Navy veteran who had seen all sorts of corners life could turn. Ruth was known for her unwavering dedication to the helpless dogs, a lighthouse of hope in the stormy seas of judgment and resentment. As she gently showed Ginger how to calm frightened pups, a spark ignited in Ginger's weary heart, a feeling of companionship she thought long gone. With every wag of a tail and every soft bark echoing through her home, something shifted. Her nights transformed into a sanctuary of barks, as Ginger embraced the comforting chaos of her foster dogs. Each pup with their stories of resilience added meaning to her own. But then life threw her a curveball that rattled her to the core. One particular dog, Lucky, had stolen not only her heart but her hope. When he got adopted only to face abandonment once more, a knot of despair tightened in her chest. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the shadows of the past crept in, Ginger rekindled the light she saw in Mia and Ethan's eyes, the unconditional love that said, "You're enough, Mom." She was faced with a crossroads. Should she delve deeper into the community she felt so distanced from, or chase her dreams of an escape into a life of possibilities? The stakes were high, and reality pressed down on her like a heavy weight. Moments flickered like fireflies, illuminating her path with potential. Could she rise from being just a survivor to a beacon of hope for those around her? With heart racing, she realized her journey wasn't merely about pulling herself up from the depths. It was about leaving an imprint, a legacy that celebrated compassion, family, and community. But what would her choice be? With a storm brewing inside, Ginger stood on the edge, the world around her watching, waiting. The question lingered in the air. Would she embrace the loving big bee she longed to be, or allow the struggles of her past to keep her from shining? Ginger's mind raced as she replayed the moments of joy and sadness. The laughter of Mia and Ethan, the comforting warmth of her dogs snuggled by her side. Lucky, with his soulful eyes, lingered in her thoughts, igniting a passion she hadn't acknowledged in years. They needed her just as much as she needed them. With the weight of decision pressing down on her, she inhaled deeply, the crisp autumn air filling her lungs like a promise, and stepped outside. The sunlight filtered through the trees, splashing her cheeks with warmth. She was ready to embrace change. She could no longer be a bystander in her life. It was time to act. Ginger found herself wandering towards the local park, the familiar route already worn into her memory. She could picture the colorful playground, laughter ringing out. But today it felt different. It felt like the first step towards something new. As she walked, the leaves danced around her feet, and she couldn't help but imagine all the open hearts and involving moments waiting just beyond her doorstep. Arriving at the park, she spotted a gathering of families, dogs frolicking and their owners chatting happily. The scene almost made her retreat, but instead, she squared her shoulders and approached. Each smile she met felt like a band-aid on her insecurities. What do I have to lose? she murmured to herself, digging her fingers into her pockets. Hey there. Are you new to fostering? A bright voice pulled her from her thoughts. A woman stood before her, her golden retriever weaved around her legs, tail wagging with enthusiasm. Yeah, just started, Ginger replied, a bit hesitant at first. That's great. The woman began, her eyes sparkling with excitement. I'm Kate. We have a whole group of us who foster and help the shelter. We meet every Tuesday. You should join us. The invitation sounded hopeful, with an energy that spread warmth into Ginger's heart. Really? I hadn't thought about that. Absolutely. It's amazing to see how a little effort can transform lives, both the dogs and ours. You'd be surprised by how wonderful this community is. Ginger nodded, the fear that had recently gnawed at her gut starting to dissolve. I'll think about it. As their conversation flowed, she learned about other moms, stories of hardships shared while watching their pups play. It wasn't long before Mia and Ethan approached, their faces filled with wonder as they witnessed their mother come alive with a spark of connection. Can we get a dog, Mom? Ethan exclaimed, eyes wide with enthusiasm. Ginger chuckled, the rhythm of laughter blending with surrounding joy. Maybe, let us see. But deep down she felt she was beginning to carve out a niche, one where love blossomed, bubbling through the cracks of her usual worries. Felt freeing. As the sun dipped lower, painting the sky in shades of fire, Ginger stood, surrounded by newfound friends. It was exhilarating. The heaviness she'd carried for so long started to lift, replaced with hope. Maybe, just maybe, she whispered to herself, I'm getting closer to that big bee I want to be. But just when everything started to align, her phone buzzed sharply against her hip. It was a message she'd been dreading. Urgent shelter meeting tonight. Her blood ran cold. What could it mean? She looked around at the blossoming relationships and the warmth of the evening fading. The potential future she had just started to envision threatened to unravel. Would this meeting set her back yet again? Ginger took a shaky breath, her gaze landing on the cheerful chaos of the park. Could this be the moment she changes her path to something greater? Even with the storm ahead? Life was unpredictable, but within that uncertainty lay possibility. Could she gather the courage to rise and inspire change rather than retreat? Only one way to find out. As the evening deepened, Ginger's thoughts spiraled into uncertainty. The message weighed heavily on her chest, drumming up old fears and doubts, but she knew she couldn't let the past dictate her future. With the laughter of Mia and Ethan still ringing in her ears, she forced herself to smile and bid farewell to her new friends. See you next Tuesday, Kate called after her, her golden retriever bounding playfully in circles around her feet. Absolutely, Ginger replied, her voice feeling unusually tight. Each step felt like an uphill battle as she made her way home. The sunset painted the sky in brilliant oranges and purples, a stark contrast to the turmoil brewing inside her. She thought of the shelter meeting, picturing tense faces, the weight of their expectations crashing over her like a tidal wave. Arriving home, the yapping of Lucky and the gentle nudges of her other pups greeted her. Their unconditional love wrapped around her like a warm blanket, reminding her why she started this journey. But as she calmed them with strokes and hugs, her phone buzzed again. It was a text from Mia. Mom, dinner is ready. Can we pick up ice cream later? Ginger held her breath for a moment. Ice cream could be a perfect distraction, a tangible treat they could all enjoy together. Of course. Let us make it a celebration, she typed back, a smile breaking through her worries. With the smell of something bubbling in the kitchen, she focused on the present. The din of the kids, the comforting scent of home, and the joyful barks of her dogs lured her away from her dark thoughts. They were her anchors, reminding her of stability even amidst chaos. Dinner was a joyous affair, laughter harmonizing with the clanging of utensils. Mia shared stories from school, and Ethan chimed in with his antics from the playground. Ginger caught herself relishing these moments, the way their eyes sparkled and their smiles lit up the room. We should all go to the shelter together, Mia suggested, a proud and earnest gleam in her eye. We can help. It'll all be fun. Ginger's heart swelled. I love that idea, she said, feeling the warmth of her children's enthusiasm light her spirits. After dinner they drove to the nearest ice cream shop, the night filled with chatter about flavors and games. Ethan jumped in his seat, sharing his endless list of favorite toppings while the music played softly in the background. Each note was a reminder of the happiness that surrounded her. But even as they dove into their ice cream cones, fingers sticky with chocolate, the shadow of the meeting loomed. What if she disappointed them? The doubts came creeping back. What would they think if she let everyone down again? "Mom, you're so quiet," Mia said, her voice slicing through the haze of Ginger's troubled thoughts. "What's on your mind?" Ethan added, his ice cream nearly tipping over the edge of his cone. "Just thinking about the shelter meeting tonight," she admitted, the words spilling out before she could catch herself. Mia gave her mother a concerned look. "Do you think you'll share your story?" Ginger hesitated. "What if I can't speak about it? What if I just freeze up?" "Mom, you're strong," Mia said, her conviction unwavering. "You've been through so much. If anyone can do it, it's you." The sincerity behind her daughter's words jolted Ginger. She looked into Mia's eyes and realized that perhaps this next step wasn't just about her. It was about showing her children how to embrace struggles, overcome fears, and connect with others. Taking a deep breath, Ginger felt her resolve begin to solidify. "You're right. If we're going to help these dogs, I can't hide. I need to be there for them. For myself." As they finished their ice cream, Ginger glanced at the clock. There was still time before the meeting. The anticipation tingled through her, mingling with the fear. But one thing became clear. She was ready to step into the unknown. Would she allow her fears to win or take control and share her story? She wouldn't turn back now. As they pulled into the parking lot of the shelter, determination filled her heart. Tomorrow could be everything she had hoped for, or show her a new vision entirely. Which path would she choose? The sun peeked through the window, bathing Ginger's bedroom in soft light. The day had finally arrived. Nervous energy bubbled inside her as she hastily dressed, her fingers fumbling with buttons and zippers. Today was not just any day. It was a turning point. Ginger stood in front of the mirror, taking a moment to breathe. She practiced her smile, forcing her lips up, but the reflection didn't quite match the storm brewing in her heart. "You can do this," she whispered, as if convincing herself would somehow make it true. She was a mom, a fighter, and now she was about to launch herself into an experience she had avoided for too long. The clanking of pots and pans drifted from the kitchen, a comforting soundtrack to her anxious thoughts. Mia and Ethan were already up, chattering away about their plans for the day. Their lightheartedness was infectious, and a small smile crept onto her face. She could hear Mia encouraging her brother to wear the blue shirt that brought out his eyes, and that alone grounded her, a reminder of why she needed to do this. "Mom, breakfast is ready," Mia called, and Ginger rushed out, determined to not let her children see her unease. Over pancakes, their family ritual, Ginger felt a warmth swell in her chest. They talked about animals at the shelter, imagining adopting a puppy or a kitten. Each scenario they painted together made her realize that today wasn't just for her, it was for them as well. It was a chance to bond and open their hearts to a little furball that needed a home. As they finished their meal, Mia and Ethan hustled around the house gathering supplies. The excitement in their chatter wrapped around her like a protective shield. Ginger was tucking her favorite notebook into her bag when she found the message again. Taking a deep breath, she read it one more time. "You're not cut out for this." The words felt painted on her skin, an echoing voice from her past, but now they felt distant like a bad dream she was waking from. She shoved the note into her pocket, vowing to leave those thoughts behind. When they arrived at the shelter, the air was different. It smelled like fresh grass and something earthy, somewhere between hope and possibility. A few volunteer faces greeted them with warm smiles. Ginger squeezed Mia's hand, feeling a mix of bravery and fear wash over her as they walked through the entrance. They were ushered to a large communal area, where a gathering of volunteers and staff awaited. Ginger's heart began to race. The room buzzed with excitement and nervous anticipation. She stood beside Mia and Ethan, silently rooting for each other, their presence anchoring her. The shelter manager stepped forward, introducing themselves and laying out how the day would unfold. Each word resonated with Ginger, igniting that flicker of purpose inside her. She listened to the stories of rescue animals, tales that echoed her own feelings of displacement. Then it happened. One of the staff looked directly at Ginger. "We'd love to hear from a volunteer who has their own story to share. If anyone's comfortable." Ginger's heart leaped into her throat, all her fears bubbling to the surface. Mia looked up at her with wide, encouraging eyes. "Mom," she whispered, a soft nudge of hope. Everything felt suspended in time. The eyes of the room turned toward her, waiting. The world narrowed down to just Ginger and that spotlight pulsing with possibility. She could feel the warmth of her children's belief in her wrapping around her like a cloak. A decision formed in her mind. Ginger stepped forward, heart pounding but tears of exhilaration stinging at the corners of her eyes. She couldn't hide anymore. This was her moment. But as she opened her mouth, ready to release the words trapped inside, would the truth come out in a flood of emotions? Or would fear leave her speechless once more? The room held its breath alongside her. Ginger felt the weight of the room's expectation pressing down on her. For a moment her vision blurred and all she could hear was the thunderous sound of her own heartbeat echoing in her ears. She caught a glimpse of Ethan's hopeful face and Mia's reassuring smile. Right then they weren't just looking at their mother. They were looking at her potential. Hi, she finally managed to stammer, her voice shaky. "Hi, Ginger," the shelter manager encouraged, their eyes twinkling with kindness. Ginger inhaled deeply, the fresh scent of hay and tender paws filling her lungs. "I'm Ginger. My kids and I are here to help because, well, we love animals." Her words started to tumble out more easily. "We've thought about adopting maybe a puppy or a kitten. But more than anything, we want to give these animals love. They deserve that." As the words flowed, something inside her cracked open. She began to share snippets of her life, the good moments that shaped her, and the struggles that taught her resilience. "I mean, it hasn't always been easy. Like, there was this time I doubted myself. A lot. But my kids, they inspire me. They remind me that love is worth the risk." The audience nodded, some secretly wiping at their eyes. Ginger felt a warmth spreading through her as she connected with them, sharing her story of uncertainty and courage. It was as if her fears melted away, replaced by the glow of shared humanity. "There is something incredible about giving a second chance," she continued, gesturing toward the animals peeking curiously from their cages. "Sometimes we need a second chance too. And today I'm taking mine." Mia's small hand slid into Ginger's as if cementing their bond in this moment. Ethan whispered, "You're doing great, Mom." That simple encouragement infused her with a surge of courage. Even as tears blurred her vision, Ginger pressed on, conjuring up memories of all the times she felt lost but persevered. "When I got out of a tough spot a few years back, I learned that being there for someone, whether it's your kids or these animals, changes everything. Love isn't always perfect, but it's always worth it." She glanced around, taking in their smiles, their nods, the small murmurs of agreement rippling through the crowd. It felt liberating. The storm inside her quieted, replaced by a profound sense of purpose. "Today, I encourage all of you, whether you're volunteering or looking to adopt, to embrace what scares you. Open your hearts. You never know what joy you're missing out on until you take that leap." As she concluded, a wave of applause erupted. Ginger stepped back, emotions swirling around her like a summer breeze, fresh and exhilarating. It was exhilarating to be heard, to feel connected. "Thank you, Ginger," said the shelter manager, her voice filled with admiration. "And thank you, Mia and Ethan, for supporting her." The audience shifted toward the animals as the staff began to explain how potential adopters could interact with them. Ginger caught Mia's eye. Her daughter beamed with pride. "Mom, you were amazing," she exclaimed, squeezing Ginger's hand tighter, proving that they had all crossed a threshold together. Ethan chimed in, "Can we play with the puppies now?" Ginger chuckled, her heart light. "Of course." But as they moved to the play area filled with wagging tails and playful yips, Ginger couldn't shake a tingling sense of anticipation. They had opened their hearts, but what if a special bond awaited them among the furry faces? Who would be the one to choose them? A flutter of excitement raced through her, but a whisper of doubt lingered just as strong. What would happen if the perfect puppy was waiting for them? Would they truly be ready to give their hearts away again? As she watched the animals romp about, Ginger felt a great leap of faith was on the horizon. Could this day bring the joy she had been missing all along? The play area was a whirlwind of fur and energy. Puppies tumbled over one another, yipping and barking excitedly, as if they could sense the hope in the air. Ginger felt her heart race as excitement mingled with uncertainty. This was a chance to expand their family in a way that felt right, yet so dauntingly new. Ethan dashed toward a cluster of puppies, his laughter ringing out like a bell. "Mom, look at this little guy." He bent down, his hands stretching out to the smallest pup, a brown ball of fluff with eyes the color of the earth after rain. Mia trotted over to Ginger's side, a sense of wonder glowing in her gaze. "Which one do you think we'll choose?" she asked, her tone a blend of hope and curiosity. "I don't know, sweetheart," Ginger replied, pivoting to catch the sight of a curious puppy that had wandered away from the pack. The little creature stood apart, its head tilting in a way that made her heart swell. "But I think we should see who chooses us." The moment felt surreal, like an invisible thread connecting them to this tiny creature, as if the universe was urging them forward. Ginger crouched down and extended her hand slowly, allowing the puppy to sniff her fingers. It hesitated, then licked her hand and her heart melted. "Look, Mia," she said with a wide grin. "This one's brave." As the women watched, the little puppy trotted toward them, its tiny paws pattering against the hard floor. It jumped into Mia's open arms, tail wagging furiously. "Can we keep it? Please?" Mia's eyes sparkled with pure joy, and Ginger felt a tear spill over. "Let us see how it feels," Ginger said, a mix of caution and hope swirling in her thoughts. "We need to make sure it's a good fit for all of us." Ethan wandered over, a different puppy tucked under his one arm. This one was darker, with silky fur and bright eyes that seemed to know everything. "What about him, Mom? He looks so friendly." Ginger's heart squeezed. How was she supposed to decide? Each animal was a bundle of emotion, a potential addition to their family. "We can't adopt more than one today, but we can take our time," she guided, suddenly overwhelmed but resolved not to rush. As they played in the sun-soaked area, laughter echoed off the walls of the shelter, weaving together memories and possibility. Ginger felt the warmth of their bond with each playful bark, every wagging tail. But just as she was enchanted by the joy unfolding, a deeper thought struck her. What if this little creature didn't truly belong to them? What if this was all too good to be true? The doubt crept in, whispering of past heartaches and fears of inadequacy. Suddenly, the shelter manager appeared beside them, offering her warm smile. "Getting a puppy is a big decision. It's about the love you have to give and the commitment you're willing to make. Are you feeling ready for that?" Ginger's thoughts swirled. There was something profoundly significant in her choice today. It wasn't just about adopting a puppy. It was about opening herself up to love again, embracing all the risks that came with it. Ginger looked at her kids, their faces bursting with joy. She realized then that this decision, no matter how heavy it felt, was rooted in their family's shared strength and resilience. "What do you think, Ethan? What do you think, Mia?" she asked, the uncertainty lingering yet transforming into determination. As they began to talk and lean into their feelings, Ginger felt herself moving closer to a conclusion. The puppy, whether it would be theirs or not, was soon to be a part of their story. How would today shape their lives? Could they really step forward and embrace the possibility of love? As she knelt down to pet the puppy, Ginger glanced at the shelter's entrance, heart racing. A shadow passed across the threshold, and she felt a stirring deep within her. What if this moment was just the beginning? What more awaited them outside those doors? The air inside the shelter felt charged with potential, like the hush before a storm. Ginger's gaze flickered between the eager smiles on her children's faces and the small puppy nestled in Mia's arms. That puppy, with its soft brown fur and hopeful eyes, felt like a promise waiting to be fulfilled. Was it really the right time for them to welcome a new member into their family? Ethan squatted beside Mia, gentle fingers petting the pup with a tenderness that belied his age. "Look at him, Mom. He looks like he needs us," he urged, his voice rich with sincerity. His little fingers brushed over the puppy's coat, and the creature responded with an excited yip. Ginger took a breath, letting the moment fill her with warmth even as doubts tugged at her heart. It was a joy tinged with concern. The loss of their old dog still hung in the air like an unspoken word. Could this little puppy ease that ache, or would it only deepen it? The shelter manager watched them with keen eyes, understanding their hesitation. "You know, it's okay to feel unsure," she said softly. "Puppy is not just a pet. It's a commitment. You're bringing a living creature into your lives who will depend on you for everything. It's about love and patience." Mia looked up, her wide eyes sparkling with innocence and hope. "Mom, we can love him. We can take care of him together." That was the core of it. Ginger realized a longing to rebuild, to fill spaces that had felt too vast since their loss. But how could she promise that? What if she couldn't meet the puppy's needs, or worse yet, let it down? The thought swirled in her mind like a dark cloud, but her heart battled back. I know you both want a puppy, Ginger began, finding her voice steadier. But we need to think about how much time and effort we'll be giving him. Do you understand? Yeah. Ethan chimed, we can train him, take him for walks, and make him part of the family. Right, Mia? Mia nodded vigorously, clutching the puppy closer as if sealing an unspoken pact. He'll be our best friend. A warmth spread inside Ginger's chest. Their enthusiasm was infectious, and maybe it was time to stop letting fear govern her decisions. The puppy would never replace their beloved friend, but it could help create new memories for them as a family. Ginger reached out, cradling the puppy's face in her palms, their eyes locking. "'Kay, little buddy. Let us see if you're as brave as you seem." The puppy wriggled, its energy palpable, and in that instant, she felt it again, the flicker of hope. This little life in her hands could be the start of something beautiful. A new chapter. Suddenly a loud crash echoed from the back of the shelter. A heavy metal gate swinging open wildly. A few curious heads turned towards the noise, and in that split second Ginger's heart dropped. An older dog, a large, shaggy creature, bounded into the play area with wild abandon. Puppies scattered, barking in chaotic delight. "Oh no, watch out!" Ethan shouted, laughter bubbling in his tone. But as that energetic dog barreled toward them, Ginger felt an unexpected chill. The newcomer's eyes seemed to lock onto her, filled with a wildness only tempered by a hint of vulnerability. This was not what she had anticipated. Could their decision to welcome a puppy truly be that simple when another presence now loomed, reminding her of decisions yet unmade? As she watched the chaos unfold, another question arose in Ginger's heart. What was she truly ready for? And was there space for more love in this growing family? The answer danced just out of reach, a tantalizing mystery. With a trembling hand, she held onto that tiny brown puppy, knowing that nothing was ever as straightforward as it seemed. The chaos in the play area surged like a wave, filling Ginger's mind with a flurry of thoughts. The older dog, with its untamed fur and spirited enthusiasm, charged around like a whirlwind, scattering not just the smaller puppies but also Ginger's clarity. She could feel her heart racing, uncertainty wrapping around her like a heavy blanket. Mia squealed with excitement, her laughter floating above the din. "Look, Mom! That dog is just playing." Ginger held her breath. All she could see was a potential risk. What if that wild spirit overwhelmed their hopes? She reached for Mia's arm, her grip conveying something she couldn't quite put into words. "Hey! Be careful!" Ethan called out, the hint of caution in his voice. Yet, his expression lit up, caught in the infectious joy of the moment. Ginger felt torn. Could she loosen the grip of worry just enough to let this joy in? The shelter manager stepped closer to her, a knowing smile on her face. "That's Max. He's been here a while, waiting for his forever home. He's full of energy but also very loving. Sometimes it just takes the right family to bring out the best in him." Ginger's reluctance softened slightly. She remembered the way their previous dog had brightened even the heaviest days. How just the right amount of patience and love could coax out the sweetest nature. But could she handle more than one dog? The thought gnawed at her like a persistent worry. Ethan took a daring step forward, his face alight with determination. "We should give Max a chance to. He could be like an older brother for the puppy." Mia chimed in, holding the small dog close to her chest. "And it's so much fun. Look how happy they are." She gestured at the commotion, and Ginger's heart melted just a bit more. She noticed how the puppy wagged its tail, seeming to mirror Ethan's excitement. It was almost as if he sensed the unfolding possibility. The warmth of their laughter began to pierce through Ginger's doubts, urging her to lean into the moment instead of pulling back. "Okay," Ginger said slowly, her voice filling with a tentative hope. "Let us just see how they interact." Before she could change her mind, she moved forward with the kids, feeling like they were teetering on the edge of something wonderful and terrifying. As Max barreled towards them once more, his big paws skittering over the floor, a blur of fur and joy, the puppy let out a yip that was both alarmed and curious. But instead of running away, the little creature stood its ground, mirroring the bravery Ginger was trying to summon. Then, something remarkable happened. Max slowed down, his eyes shifting from wild excitement to a softer curiosity. He lowered his nose to the small puppy, nudging playfully. The tension in Ginger's chest eased a little, replaced by a spark of joy. Ethan burst out laughing again, echoing the bubbling energy surrounding them. "Look, they're friends already." Ginger marveled at the scene unfolding. Yes, Max had brought chaos, but in that chaos there was the promise of connection. Bit by bit, all her fears began to unravel. Perhaps, just perhaps, embracing this unexpected moment could pave the way for something greater. She glanced at her children, their faces lit up like bright stars, finding hope in the unplanned. But even as warmth spread inside her, one formidable thought persisted. Was she ready to fully embrace the responsibility of 2 dogs now? As she stood there, surrounded by the hopeful energy of her children and the stirring possibility of her heart, the question lingered. What did love ask of her now? And in that moment, as the playful barks filled the air, she couldn't help but wonder what direction their journey would take next. Would it lead them down a path of new beginnings, or challenge her in ways she hadn't imagined? Ginger watched as Max and the puppy began to play, their movements delightfully synchronizing into a dance of pure joy. The way they bounded across the play area felt contagious, and for the first time, Ginger allowed a small smile to creep onto her face. "Look at them!" Ethan exclaimed, his enthusiasm bubbling over. "They love each other already." Mia laughed, clapping her hands. "Can we take them home, Mom?" Her eyes were wide, filled with hope. The puppy's innocent happiness sparked something deep in Ginger's heart. "Let us just see how they get along for a bit longer," she replied, wanting to savor this moment without jumping the gun. As the minutes passed, Ginger couldn't help but notice the way Max took on a protective role. He seemed to carefully guide the puppy, showing him how to navigate the play area. When the little one stumbled, Max was there, nudging him back onto his feet as if reassuring him that it was all part of the game. This gentle spirit was a stark contrast to the whirlwind chaos from earlier, and it filled Ginger with warm relief. "I think he knows he's got a little buddy now," Ginger mused, her heart swelling. She was still on the fence about what this meant for her family, but somewhere inside, she felt a thread of connection weaving itself into their lives again. Ethan leaned in close, whispering, "Can we really think about adopting them? Who will love them like we will?" Mia's grip on the puppy tightened, almost protectively, as if she feared losing him. Ginger could see both kids were more than eager to embrace this adventure, and it struck her this wasn't just about Max or the new puppy. This could be about rebuilding, about reviving a spark that had dimmed after losing their previous dog. But as quickly as hope flared to life, shadows crept back in. What if the transition proved too difficult? What if Max wasn't the perfect fit for them after all? Questions buzzed in her mind like restless bees, the daredevil excitement of Ethan and Mia against the backdrop of her uncertainties. Just then the shelter manager approached again, her expression warm. "It looks like they are already forming a bond, doesn't it?" Ginger nodded, struggling to find her voice through the haze of emotion. They seem to be good for each other." Sometimes the woman leaned in closer. "When you adopt a dog, you're not just gaining a pet. You're welcoming a new partner in life. They tend to help each other grow just as much as you'll help them." Ginger bit her lip, the weight of those words settling over her. Partner? Could she really handle that responsibility? A sudden bark cut through her thoughts, and she turned to see Max hopping around with the puppy, flinging his oversized paws joyfully in the air. Laughter trickled from Mia, infectious and bright, and in that moment she knew. "All right," Ginger finally said, her voice steadier now, "let's give Max and this little one a chance to show us what they can do together." The children's cheers sent a wave of warmth through her, igniting a flicker of joy in her heart. But still, the lingering question danced on the edge of her mind. How would they navigate this new chapter together? As they stood with excitement surrounding them, the playful chaos of the moment wrapped around Ginger like a warm blanket. She was teetering on the precipice of acceptance, but real life awaited all the complexities of this decision, and with it the unknown. The delightful connection stirred inside her was undeniable, but would they truly find the happiness they longed for? As laughter rang in her ears, she couldn't shake the thought. What awaited them on the other side of this decision, and would they be ready for the challenges that lay ahead? The air buzzed with excitement as Ginger stood in the shelter play area, her heart fluctuating between elation and trepidation. Max and the puppy danced together, their story unfolding right before her eyes, and for the first time, she felt the tide of uncertainty begin to shift toward confidence. "Mia, Ethan, I think we're ready to take the plunge," she finally declared. Her voice steady, no more hesitation. The light in her children's eyes was electric, pure hope radiating from every corner of their beaming faces. "Really, Mom?" Ethan bounced with glee, and Mia, cradling the small puppy, leaned closer, waiting for the next words to ignite their excitement further. "Yes, let us adopt both of them." It felt liberating to express that. The uncertainty that had settled around her like a fog began to lift. Moments before, she had envisioned all the risks, but now, as she witnessed the bond blooming between the two dogs, her heart swelled with potential. As they approached the shelter manager, Ginger took a deep breath, a wave of warmth coursing through her. The decision was more than just adopting two pets. It was about embracing love and vulnerability. "I think we'll be adopting Max and this little one together," she spoke, anxiety whispering in the back of her mind, but she forged ahead, seeking the courage that lay dormant within her. "That's wonderful," the manager exclaimed, her face lighting up. "You won't regret it. They will bring so much joy to your family." Each step toward their new beginnings felt monumental, almost surreal. As they filled out the paperwork, Mia and Ethan chattered excitedly about names and colors for collars, their glee seeping into every word. Ginger smiled through it all, the joy overshadowing the shadow of doubt that lingered. Later, as they drove home, with Max seated happily in the back between Mia and Ethan cradling the puppy in her lap, Ginger couldn't help but feel a sense of peace wash over her. They had stepped boldly into the unknown, facing fears and challenges head-on. She looked in the rearview mirror, taking in the sight of her children radiating an infectious happiness. "Mom, this is like a dream come true," Mia exclaimed, her voice bubbling with excitement. Ginger's heart swelled with love as she turned toward her children. "You know, this is just the beginning," she replied softly. "We have a lot to learn together as a family." As they pulled into the driveway, Max leaped to her feet, tail wagging, already eager to explore his new home. The puppy, nestled safely in Mia's arms, looked around with wide eyes, taking in the newness. They stepped inside, a chorus of barks and playful noises greeting them. The familiar warmth of home enveloped them, but it felt different today, alive with renewed purpose and possibilities. Ginger knelt down and Max approached her, nuzzling against her hand. The puppy joined in, attaching himself to her leg, and Ginger grinned, feeling loved more than she had in years. "Look, they're settling in perfectly," Ethan cheered as he playfully rolled a ball across the floor. Laughter painted the walls, igniting a warmth that felt like a winter hearth on a cold night. The days that followed brimmed with joy, but also a fair share of challenges. Training sessions volleyed between laughter and lessons learned. Mischievous Max would nip playfully at the puppy's ears, only to watch him tumble and roll. Ginger found herself immersed in not just gaining pets but nurturing a family that became a partner in life, reflecting back to her all the love she poured into them. At night, when the world quieted, she'd curl up on the couch, the dogs snuggling beside her and her children asleep in their rooms nearby. Sweet silence washed over the house, and tears of gratitude would often slip down her cheeks. It was a far cry from the isolation she once felt. This was community, love, family, her very own Bigby identity taking form. One evening, they gathered for a family meeting now complete with 4 members. "Okay, what should we name our puppy?" Mia asked, excitement coursing through her. "How about Lucky?" Ethan suggested. "Yes, our lucky puppy." "I love that." Ginger smiled, recalling the journey they all had taken together. And in that moment, she realized this new addition wasn't just filling an empty space in their lives, but also helping her reclaim a wholeness she thought lost. In that little house on Maplewood Street, everything had changed. While life would undoubtedly still present challenges, Ginger understood that every struggle was an opportunity for growth. There would be moments of doubt and hardship, but she was promised nothing less than love each day. Ginger looked around, her heart buoyant, as the dogs began to wrestle, pulling each other into their own world of joy. "This is where we belong," she whispered softly. Knowing they were more than just a family, they were a testament to resilience and hope. The journey was still unfolding, full of new beginnings, laughter, and adventures. With her heart full and her family beside her, she knew they would face whatever came next together. And that was a beautiful thing. Don't wait another second. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire you. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Drop a comment to share your reactions and feelings about this heartwarming ending. And remember to share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to be touched by this incredible transformation. You need to take action right now. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel.